Hello everyone, I'm Ronn Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time. Journey to Elections 2023 here in the Virgin Islands. We are of course bringing you the candidates directly. This is just for the record. Today we are joined by independent 4th District candidate Mrs. Rosita Thompson, or Scatliffe Thompson that is, and she will be outlining, of course, her plans as well as answering some questions. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more Just for the Record right after this.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. My name is Kamal Haynes. Most of you know me from 284 News, but now you get to see me in a different light on my very own show called Health is Wealth. We have Joel Turnbull.
I don't want you to arch your back when you're pulling down.
Milton McLean.
First of all, right, your footwork.
Stephen Payne.
That was a 9 out of 10. I know you got the service down pat.
Steve Augustine.
You did a pretty hard workout today, so perhaps...
And as you can see, it's actually
you're feeling it.
Alonzo Boynes.
Taekwondo.
Adam Murrows.
I'll speak as if you're an absolute beginner.
I am an absolute beginner.
You are an absolute beginner.
And Seth Graham.
It bites.
It will
Everything
Get your water, get your fruits and veggies, and experience a wealth of knowledge about getting healthy.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Viewers, welcome back and thank you so much for sticking with us. As promised, you are watching 284 Media Journey to Elections 2023. This is Just for the Record. We are today joined by independent 4th District candidate Mrs. Rosita Scatliffe Thompson. Mrs. Scatliffe Thompson, thank you for your time and welcome to our platform.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are one of the candidates vying for a seat in the next House of Assembly, particularly in the 4th Electoral District. Why did you decide to run for public office?
Well, I was very active a few months ago when there was a threat of our Constitution possibly being suspended. And my thing was, how could I, now as an adult, see that the community is going through situations and issues like this and not actively play a part? And I did that, and I guess it kind of stirred that place inside of me where you would sit and you would think, someone else is going to do it. I've always done that. Or someone else is going to do it. And then you realize either no one is actually doing it, or persons and individuals who have done it have left a bad taste in our mouth. So when I decided to go forward, actually, it was a funny story. I was speaking to someone who had already been in the ring, and we were having a conversation, and then she said that they were looking for a few people. And I was like, okay, it's just a laugh, and said, nothing really serious. And then I realized, okay, maybe I should do that. I had a few conversations with persons in the community who I trusted, persons who I felt had the experience behind them. I contacted a campaign consultant, because I am not a politician, to find out if it's like hanging my hat too high. And well, it was asked what were the criterias, and the criterias that existed to be a candidate, I totally fulfilled. I am actively and have always been active in the community. I have been an educator. A lot of my babies and my past students are adults right now. And I've always felt that I have never been the one to sit on the side and do nothing. So I know it takes a great courage. It also puts out there the fact that you are going to be in a vulnerable position. But another gentleman said to me the other day, Miss Scatliffe, why are you going into the lion's den? And I said, we're always in the lion's den. And that's just a matter of it. We're always in the lion's den. And I decided I'm going to do something.
You mentioned having consulted a political consultant and then having the criteria listed, and you met those criteria. For those persons who may not know, I'm not aware of what those criteria are. And I think, honestly, many persons are asking, well, what are the criteria for running for public office? What were the criteria based on your conversations with that consultant?
Oh, I do not want to misquote. and I do not wish to create questions. Based on the criteria, I'll tell you what I remember personally for myself. I had to be a Virgin Islander. I had to be someone who had been involved in stuff in the community, and basically not caught up in anything illegal, so to speak, presently.
Okay.
So.
For the persons that do not know, who is Rosita Scatliffe Thompson? Who are you?
Who am I? I was always a shy person back in the day. I always knew what I wanted in terms of, there's some person that was susceptible to peer pressure. I've never been one of those person. Quiet, but not necessarily a follower. Now, not being a follower doesn't mean that I'm not a team player. I am, but I'm not going to be led astray. I'm going to be the person that's going to ask all the relevant questions. I am not aligned with anyone. Doesn't mean I don't have a lot of friends, but I know there's a very fine line between right and wrong, and I try as much as possible to follow it. I am a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter. I am a person that believes, if possible, everything can work in accordance for everyone. And I also believe that in society, there's some persons who are considered the underdog, and I don't mind speaking up for the underdog. And that has always been my motto. I am not going to just sit and say nothing. And that's who I am, really.
Okay. Speaking of track record and speaking of professional background, can you tell us a little bit about your professional background? What do you do? And what would essentially qualify you to lead the 4th District?
Well, one of the criteria to be a representative, based on what makes me eligible to put my hand in the ring, is that they wanted persons that were basically community-minded. I have always been that. And if persons who have been here before I left here, because I left home twice in my lifetime and returned. Persons who knew me when I was younger might remember, besides being a Girl Guides, interacting with the community, giving back, I was also a member of the Tortola Lions Club, the Tortola Lear Club. I was president in both cases, vice president in both cases. In my return home, I continue that thing that was in me to always serve. I am a member of the Diabetes Association, the Tortola Toastmasters. I joined different organizations in terms of business. What I do right now, I was a former educator, both here and in Antigua. What I do right now, I do have a small business that I put aside for this adventure. My business is Skyrim Consultants. I deal with cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. So I deal a bit with fintech, which is financial technology. I join as many organizations as I possibly could. That was, one of them are BVI-CCHA. I was asked in the BVI-CCHA to be part of a restructuring task force that we have right now. And what that task force does is there was a split. There's going to be a further split between the Hotel Association and the Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce wanted to focus more on small businesses, because I remember when I was joining that, I'm like, hey, there are a lot of young people, young entrepreneurs that are just being left out. With the BVI Finance, I never saw any young entrepreneurs. And the first place I saw those young entrepreneurs, I think it was about 2019, when there was like a young entrepreneur workshop. It was held with the Animal de Castro. And there were so many brilliant young people there in that forum, but they were not represented in the BVI Finance Forum, even though they did things that was in the financial sector. I said in the Chamber of Commerce that we need to get more young people in, because certain things that they should know to protect themselves in business, they don't. So I was advocating for the young people, and I do that. Besides that, I was asked in 2019 to be a part of a fintech committee that was established through the Premier's office. And in that fintech committee, what we did, we were basically to help advise the Premier on anything digital coming forward. Now, just before that, we had the Corona situation. Yes. But while we existed, we dealt with things like making amendments to the Computer Misuse and Cybersecurity Act. We dealt with the NCT Act. We did a lot of things on the back end. So those are the things I've done. Those are the things I've done in terms of business, personally, and in the community.
Now, just for the record, when we do our research, there are a number of, I would call them misconceptions, because you have an opportunity to address those.
Yeah.
When we speak to persons and we interact and we canvass, what are your thoughts on this candidate? Many persons say, I don't know who she is. We've also heard that you're unapproachable and you don't speak to persons. When you hear those types of descriptions, particularly the latter two, what are your thoughts?
Well, that is not true. Unapproachable. Do I walk into a room and not say anything? No. Do I pass people on the street and not say anything? No. Have you ever walked up to me and just as a stranger and asked me something and said something and I've never been a person that you can have a conversation with? No, they're not true. If you want to say that you stood outside of my space and you've looked at me and you couldn't bring yourself to come and talk to me, no, that's a different conversation.
Okay. You are vying for a seat in the 4th electoral district, the
Yes.
capital of the city, or the city capital. Tell me about some of your initiatives, if elected, as it pertains to the 4th district. Stay tuned for more Just for the Record right after this.
There goes my new car. Guess I'm back on my bike.
Your bike? CG offers new car replacement. Remember my monster truck days? Well, one night I attempted a 50-foot pogo double backflip. I landed it and went to karaoke. It wasn't until afterward that my car got hit by that fisherman. He gave me some great mahi-mahi, though. Anyway, they paid fast and got me in a new car. Now call a cab. I want you to meet my alpaca guy.
New car replacement for the first year of ownership. CG Insurance. Good like that.
Today, I am doing cobble treatments with Beyond the Reef. Today, we are doing shark research. So today, we are doing whale research with Beyond the Reef. And wherever I go, I take CCT with me because my life is unlimited.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. You are vying for a seat in the 4th electoral district, the
Yes.
capital of the city, or the city capital. Tell me about some of your initiatives, if elected, as it pertains to the 4th district.
Okay, so I haven't officially had the launch that people are accustomed to. And so I cannot go into detail as yet because that's kind of basically the secret sauce to say. But what I will say is that the things that are of concern to me and a lot of the people that live and work in the 4th district are things that we see every single day. My goal and vision is to make the 4th district fit for purpose. That will cover a lot of different things that I will go into later. When I say fit for purpose, it has to be residentially fit for purpose. It has to be commercially fit for purpose. And it has to be fit for purpose for the visitors that come to our shore. So under those 3 categories, those are the things I'm going to look at. And those are the things I've been having conversation. You see, before I declared, I was going house to house. I've been going house to house, visiting people, morning and evening. I'm in a tired state. But what I've learned and what I've heard brought a lot of tears to my eye. We have a lot of poverty. There is so much poverty in the Virgin Islands, you can't even fathom the idea of how much poverty that we have. We have a lot of mental health issues, and the people that have mental health issues in the Virgin Islands, in the streets, are our own people. We have a lot of domestic abuse. That is painful. We have a lot of single mothers. We have a lot of people who are dealing and living paycheck to paycheck. Those issues should not be existing if we are a developing nation and we are hitting so many highs internationally. What I want to do is actually build a nation. But I am very aware that in building a nation, you have to start at the core of it. And for me, and I will hope that other candidates will think this way as well, the core of our nation starts with the home. It starts with the families. We have to fix that first. And then when we deal and fix our family network, then we have to fix the neighborhood situation. When we leave from the neighborhood situation, then we have to fix the community. The community now is basically the entire territory. Then we have a nation that has been built. We cannot decide it's going to work from the top down. That's not how it works. The foundation has always been the home and the family, and what goes into that home and family. We have to look at our youths. Our youths are basically being disregarded, and I've spoken to a lot of young people who are young adults right now, so I still refer to them as youths. And their cry is, Miss Scatliffe, those people that they don't listen to us. It's like we don't exist. You know, they don't hear us, they don't care of us. They see us here on the block and they just pass us by. You know, and I said, do I pass you by? And they said, no, whenever you're driving through the road, you're always hailed. She said, but persons, when they drive, they have the windows up, like they don't even want to see us. They pretend that we're not even there. And I listen to them, and when I'm in the community organizations, the situations that you meet in the community when you're going house to house in terms of the nonprofit organizations, what you meet there is totally different to what I'm meeting here right now, going door to door in a political sense. What you meet in the community is probably the sick and the shut in, or persons who can't move around much, and you go and take a flower, take a basket. The canvassing that I've been doing, I get, and it's been a slow process. It's been a slow process because I can't allot 5 minutes to speak to these people. I can't allot 5 minutes to speak to anyone. So my time goes a very long way with an individual, because the depth of their concerns and their problem doesn't seem like one I can just brush off. They're not happy. They feel disrespected. They feel that nothing has been done. You walk around Rotong and you see nothing has been done. We have issues that affect businesses. We have issues that affect residents. We have issues that affect persons that visit and just basically work in Rotong. Some of the things that I know anyone would say they have seen and they've actually evident is our sewage. When I left here many years ago, and like I said, I've left here twice, we've had a problem with sewage. We've had many ministers, and I'm going to say they all meant well, but between meaning well and actually producing, they're falling short between that era. My thing is, I think that should have been solved a very long time ago. I know it can be solved. One of the things that I would do when I'm elected, when I win, is I would like to have a meeting with Public Work, Water, Sewage, and the city manager for us all to come together, and each entity gives their let's say research on what is happening and ways that they see that we can perhaps come together and fix it and just get it done. If it's resources that are needed in terms of finance, let's get it done. There is no reason at all, whether we live in the Virgin Islands or whether persons visit our shores in the center of our city, that's a city, anyone should be smelling raw sewage. Besides the fact that it's unpleasant to the nose, it's also unhealthy to us as individuals that live and work here. And I think that should be solved. And that's one of the first things I will look at.
You mentioned quite a number of issues from poverty, domestic violence, youth, infrastructure as it pertains to the capital, and of course, sewage. And as you rightfully said, these problems have been going on for quite some time. As a little boy, I could remember these problems, many of which we're still experiencing, still present in the capital. What makes you different from any other representative? How would persons be able to trust that Mrs. Rosita Scatliffe Thompson will be any different from past leadership and accomplish what you just outlined?
Well, first of all, I'm not aligned with any political party. I am not doing things based on just changing of the guard. And I think that's where some issues have arisen. Being aligned with the party, no, it has worked for many years, but it might not necessarily be the situation now. I ask the correct questions that make a lot of persons very, very uncomfortable. And I would not stop asking the questions. I would not stop bringing them up until I get an answer. Because it's only from the truth and the answer that you can get to the core of what is actually going on. And as a politician who is perhaps elected, it doesn't take away the fact that I'm grounded, and I'm well grounded. I am still an individual. And as an individual, being on the outside, before announcing my candidacy, there were questions that I myself wanted answered. And I would push for that. I would push for that because at the end of the day, my role and understanding how government works is that politicians are the employee of the people. We work for the people. We represent the people. If I am elected, when I'm elected and get into office, I have to answer people of the 4th District, whether they live there or they work there. I would want them to hold me accountable. I mean, that goes without saying, but they also have a responsibility to come to me and say, well, you said you were going to do this, what's the hold up? But I can bet you one thing, they will not get a chance to ask me that question because I'll be there telling you what's the hold up. In cabinet, when there are issues that come up and I find that they make no sense financially or money is being misappropriated, I will not be voting on such matters because that's not the time we're in. We're in the time right now of austerity. Everything should be on a matter of tightening your belt. So all this frivolous spending is not going to happen under my watch. What makes me the person? I have integrity. I am grounded. I will ask a question that everyone needs to know, and I will not stop asking these questions until I get an answer.
You mentioned about the Commission of Inquiry and the possible suspension of the Constitution, which we faced a few months ago, and it's still essentially a cloud hanging over our head.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Commission of Inquiry for a second. Do you view the findings of the Commission of Inquiry as a fair representation of what has transpired in the Virgin Islands over the last decade or so?
Oh, that has caused a bit of uproar here in the Virgin Islands. And if I agree with the findings, when I look at the findings, I see a bit of truth and I also see a bit of bias. Now, in terms of what has been brought forth, we know our failings. We know what we were supposed to be responsible for, and we know what we were supposed to hold people accountable to. We did not do that to a certain extent. My take on this is the findings came out, the CIOI happened, we have to move forward. There are a lot of times we get stuck on stuff that I'm not going to say has no relevance, but this is where we are right now. It occurred, we have this report, and in the report had basically timelines to do stuff. I think the timelines were way too short, personally, but this is where we are. And my thing is, we can't go back from what happened. There were a lot of things that were found out, some known to most people, some not known to most people. And we just have to take it right now and make a pledge to some extent that the primary thing that came up was the lack of good governance. that has been the basis on the investigation in the first place. When we look at the lack of governance, we have to look at our judicial system, our laws, our policies, our procedures, the ministerial positions and offices, and we need to find out if these worked where they are now, and if these policies and ministerial, let's say 1, 2, 3 steps are where they are. Does it work for us right now in this day and time? And I am going to right now talk about our judicial system, because that's a part that really worries my soul. And it worries my soul because people make up the community, and community builds the nation. In our judicial system, I do not understand why to this day so many of our youths are being incarcerated. With all the different programs around the world, and the fact that we're saying that we're a modernized society, why are we at that level to this day? We've had no one ever who has suggested that perhaps there need to be a process of rehabilitation for our youths. When you put our youths away for things that they would have done, maybe with a little less, let's say, as a person with common sense. You're young, you know. These are the things that we go through all the time. We make decisions when we're 20 and 21, or perhaps 19 and 17, that should not really affect where we are right now, because it means that we are incapable of growing. We're not incapable of growing. There's absolutely no one is incapable of growing. Everyone needs to learn, but that's the only way you think you're going to teach them? You're saying that that person's innate ability is going to define their entire life based on something they did when they were 17 years old? Or are you going to say, as a society, it's going to take a village to raise these children and these individuals, and let's find out a different process that they could perhaps grow into who they're meant to be? Now, the process might fail, but the fact of the matter is we need to give everyone a winning chance. Another thing that worried me in my house-to-house canvassing was the fact that I've met some young people who have been incarcerated, and they cannot get more than a job that involves sweeping, cleaning, washing dishes. And they want more than that because it doesn't allow them to take care of their families. And these individuals have families, whether they have children or maybe an ailing parent that they have to help financially. They don't get good jobs. Why is that? Because they have a record, and somehow that goes against them for never ending, for eternity going forward. That's not fair. I mean, they did what they did, but that's not fair. How about the rehabilitation process, as I mentioned, and perhaps attend a trade school so that they can learn a skill? We have a lot of hurricanes in this area. Why is it to this day there isn't a community center in the 4th District or a youth center in the 4th District? Why is it to this day there isn't a vocational center that does what it's supposed to do, in my opinion? That vocational center should be a place that you teach people skills. There's not every single person in the Virgin Islands that's academically inclined. There are persons that are hands-on. Why isn't it a field? Why isn't it a youth center that teaches people to do things with the hand? Because we know that that's important in building our nation. Like I said to you, we always have hurricanes. Windows and doors are constantly going from our homes. To this day, we're still ordering windows and doors from abroad. Why? Why can't we have someone that works with us come into the community in the youth center and teach our men, women, boys, and girls to actually build these doors and build these windows, so that when we Virgin Islanders and our homes get destroyed, we can go and get something that our own hands made. First of all, it's going to be cheaper on the whole economy, and I don't see that being such a bad thing. That's going to be a win-win situation. So
I'm happy that you mentioned youth, you mentioned rehabilitation, because that takes me to a series of very short questions. You have the ability to say yes or no or elaborate, and the basis of these questions is whether or not you would support or not support these few recommendations.
Okay.
Beginning first, the legalization or decriminalization of marijuana. Stay tuned for more Just for the Record right after this.
There goes my new car. Guess I'm back on my bike.
Your bike? CG offers new car replacement. Remember my monster truck days? Well, one night I attempted a 50-foot pogo double backflip. I landed it and went to karaoke. It wasn't until afterward that my car got hit by that fisherman. He gave me some great mahi-mahi though. Anyway, they paid fast and got me in a new car. Now call a cab. I want you to meet my alpaca guy.
New car replacement for the first year of ownership. CG Insurance. Good like that.
Today, I am doing cobble treatments with Beyond the Reef. Today, we are doing shark research. So today, we are doing whale research with Beyond the Reef. And wherever I go, I take CCT with me because my life is unlimited.
At home or on the go, watch CCT Live. Download our app and carry your favorite TV shows, news, or live sports anywhere you go. Visit cctbvi.com/live, select your package, and tune in.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. The legalization or decriminalization of marijuana.
That was a good question. I had a conversation with one of my people the other day. I saw it from one level as it perhaps could be good. And on the other level, it could perhaps be bad. Every politician cannot say they've spoken to every individual in the Virgin Islands and has every opinion under their belt so that when we go to cabinet, we can vote saying we've spoken to every single person. No. Something like that involves the whole community, I think it needs to go to a referendum.
Okay. The legalization of same-sex marriage.
Also a referendum.
Abortion.
Oh, that's very personal being I'm a woman. And here's my swing on that. So a group of persons are sitting down, and I'm just using this hypothetically, and deciding what a woman should do with her body. A lot of groups and organizations. How about those same groups and organizations sit down and decide, okay, we're going to also tell men what to do with their bodies. We're going to impose a law, or we're going to create a law that says every single man should have a vasectomy because we're nipping this in the bud. We're going to deal with the source of pregnancy from the source. And a man has as much responsibility as a woman. So how about we have that conversation? Instead of focusing on the woman, let's look at the source. And let's say, maybe we should explore men having vasectomies. I'm not saying it should be a policy, but I'm just saying when the shoe is on the other foot, it doesn't seem like something you really want another person deciding, does it?
Okay. The legalization of parimutuel betting.
The people have to decide.
All right. I have some very short questions for you. What is your Virgin Islands or favorite Virgin Islands cuisine?
Sweet or savory, does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, definitely tart. Guava tart for the win.
Okay. What is your favorite sister island, or do you have a favorite sister island?
My favorite sister island. I can't say I have a favorite because they're all unique and they have this special niche about them. So no, I don't have a favorite. It's like asking me who's my favorite sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could take someone from VI yesteryear, that simply means that they're no longer with us, to lunch, who would it be and why?
Oh my. I should choose a woman. I'm going to say two persons. Dolores Christopher. She was sharp. She was sharp, and she was the epitome of us women. And the reason I say that is this is why I think women are in the right place right now, and the amount of female candidates that we have.
16 to be exact.
I know, awesome, isn't it? We're in a good position right now where we are. And I'm going to tell you why. We're nurses, we're doctors, we're preachers, we're advocates, we deal with the finances, we're interior decorators, we fix stuff, we build stuff. And we also deal with the psychology of every and any person that comes within our space. And this is not just a mother opposite a non-mother, a woman in a whole. If you don't have a child, I'm sure you've mothered someone else's child. That makes us quite capable to take care of a community, because when you're raising a home and you're in a family, you're taking care of the community already. So, and she's done that. That's what makes her great. She set the way for most women. So I would say Dolores Christopher is one, and second, Lavity Stout. The reason I chose Lavity as well, he was great. He showed that this talk that we often have about you have to be so well educated because only so well educated people can do this and do that. And he basically knocked that story right on its head. That's not the case at all. But he was a brilliant man. He spoke with such articulation. It was absolutely amazing. He was a great orator, and he knew exactly how to play the game, so to speak. And I think he set the stage for perhaps a lot of other politicians to follow. But those two persons, Dolores first and Lavity Stout secondly.
All right. In the final analysis, Mrs. Scatliffe Thompson, the people of the Virgin Islands on April 24th will go to Election Day.
Yeah.
Why should they vote for you?
I am someone that when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I cannot be bullied. I cannot be, what's the word I'm looking for? I cannot be influenced for the bad thing. I cannot be bribed. If you want the same old, if you want just business as usual, if you want going back to the same old changing of the guard, continue voting for the previous persons who perhaps have fallen from the way a bit and have not done much for the community on a whole. However, if you want someone that you know and you feel that's going to go in there and they're going to fight for your cause, if you want someone that knows that if something costs $1, why am I paying $20,000 for it? And that person is going to stand up and say no. If you want someone that's going to come and say, listen, you don't have to ask me what's going on. This is what's going on. Vote for me. I am that person.
Mrs. Scatliffe Thompson, thank you so much for the conversation, and most importantly, thank you for exercising your democratic right in seeking a seat in the next House of Assembly.
Thank you for your time.
You're most welcome. Viewers, that's all the time we have. You've been watching Just for the Record, Journey to Elections. I'm Ronn Grant. Bye-bye.
Yo, everything good there?
Aye. This thing got me one way, daddy.
What you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What you really? Hey, this ain't like you know.
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out that trouble me.
Wow. What your name is?
She? I talking about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turned into 5. 5 months turned into, well, you know I hot. I watching ball. I been watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.